I'd like to invite our speakers and moderators to be on stage for us to begin the session. And this session is the special panel address session, which commences supposedly at 3 and ends at 4. And the theme for this session is democracy and moderation. And while waiting for some of the delegates to take their seat, I'd like to remind us all that tonight's dinner date will be with Tun Abdullah Haji Ahmad Badawi. And once again, the venue is also at Mandarin Oriental Hotel Level 1 Ballroom. It's not going to be here, but there'll be a change in venue starting from tomorrow. I'll announce that later, inshallah. The theme for our dinner date with Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi tonight is Human Capital Development, the Key to Moderation. And our moderator for this session, entitled Democracy and Moderation, is none other than a distinguished Malaysian diplomat, Tan Sri Razak Ismail, the former President of United Nations General Assembly. First and foremost, let us all give a very warm welcome to our speakers and moderator for this session. Tan Sri Razak Ismail, the moderator, allow me to give a little bit of his background. He's a distinguished Malaysian diplomat, having served as the chairman of the United Nations Security Commission, as well as the President of the United Nations Assembly. And in his tenure, up until 2005, he was the United Nations Special Envoy to Myanmar and played a very significant role in ensuring the release of Aung San Suu Kyi from house arrest in 2002. So we know that we have very prominent speakers and moderators up on stage. Without further ado, I'd like to call upon Tan Sri Razak Ismail to steer the session, if you please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. We'll start off on a trot quickly. The session is Democracy and Moderation, and we have two very distinguished speakers. We have about an hour. I would like to have some time to spare for questions and answers. That would be the interesting part, I think. Dr. Muhammad Yusuf Kala was formerly the Vice President of Indonesia. He comes from a country that's very close to Malaysia, and from a country that has an increasing influence throughout the world. Sheikh Muhammad Umar is the chairman of Ramadan Foundation. We all have heard of many attributes of that foundation, so I'm sure we will have a good discussion this afternoon. Democracy and moderation, as far as I can see, one talks about democracy, one talks about moderation almost in synonymous terms. It is assumed that a country that is democratic would be able to apply moderation. But evidently this is not so, and this doesn't have to be necessarily so. There are many aspects of this, including the actual meaning of democracy too. Now, especially after yesterday, it is clear that we as moderates are not prepared to accept that there is only one authorship to democracy, that many roads lead to the meaning of democracy. And moderation too is not necessarily a static thing you can achieve, because there are many influences on moderation that makes a difference in how moderation is applied. I'm thinking of the problem of governance in a country, where governance will, one way or another, under certain circumstances, propel you towards doing things that are not necessarily moderate, even if you start with the principle of being moderate. These are important issues to look at, and for the benefit of the foundation, which we'll put up soon, this will be very important that we continue with the debate, trying to understand what each of us in every constituency understand what these two things mean. So please, I pass first to His Excellency, Vice President of Indonesia, Mr. Kala. Please.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, thank you very much for this occasion, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Razali. Yesterday, Prime Minister Najib explained very good about moderate. And of course, has explained that democracy too is many meaning. even North Korea, that we know that's very close, they say, Democratic Republic of Korea. It's different. For me and for us, democracy is not our objective. Democracy is the way to means the objective, the system itself, not the objective itself. But of course we believe that democracy is one of the best to achieve our objective. We believe that, then we do that. Democracy is systems or the way to achieve the prosperity. That's why we come here, is meaning to understand and to reach our prosperity. Prosperity, of course, many meaning to that. What kind of prosperity? Economic prosperity with dignity. Of course, prosperity with dignity in economic way, in political and social. It is something that all is our objective through democracy. Of course, democracy for us is the way to make a similarity, not the way to make a differentiality. Sometimes, if we are different, we call, oh, this is democracy. Yes, of course. We understand differentiality, but our common life to make a common and similarity through the way of democracy to achieve our objective. It's the same with moderation. Moderation, of course, we talk in moderation, of course, there are extreme. If no extreme, no moderation. The extreme might be left or right. Like a road. There are right and left, and in the middles, moderations or centrist. In many cases, extreme is not a big one. If I make an example about Indonesia, sometimes many thinking, oh, Indonesia, there are very extreme radical Islam, for instance, because some bombs everywhere. But as you know that, it's a very small number to do that. Moderate is very big. But maybe there is silent majority. I think this conference is objective. How the silent majority of moderates will more take roles to make achieve the goals or our objective to make a prosperous and dignity for our nation. Each nation to fulfill the objective to make a prosperity, of course, should be have a harmony within the society, peace and humanity, stability and order, and ability to cooperate with other countries and nations. Every government, of course, there are different ways. Indonesia experiences that there are many ways to implement the democracy. But one thing that we should make a good transition through that. When Suharto era, we know that more authoritarians, but with reform suddenly we change from authoritarian to more liberal democracy. Take some risk too. Maybe it is lesson learned to like Arab Spring that we need transition to do that in our democracy. Without good transitions, because liberal democracy meaning sometimes they making the winner take all. When there are winner take all in our experiences 10 years ago, some conflicts, we do that. Of course, the cost to make a change, there are costs to do that. The condition to making the democracy, to increasing the roles of modernization, or to making wake up to majority, the silent majority in many countries, that can make a role to moving ahead of the roles of many peoples. What the meaning of this? What the meaning people need? Democracy is meaning how to making better equality of the peoples. In our history, since independence is 60 years, there are 15 big conflict or rebellion. 10 or 15 because inequality in politics, in social and economic. 10 or 15 because equality. It's meaning to making democracy, of course, making better equality of the people. No equality we cannot perform in democracy. As yesterday mentioned that moderation not only in politics, but what kinds of extreme in moderation? There are two kinds of extreme. There are extreme with violence and with extreme in thought or in politics. I think we have no problem with extreme in politics or in thought. The problem is if we are extreme with violence. This is happens everywhere. And in some way, in economic way. What extremes in economic way to make it prosperity of the peoples? In 2000, I'm Minister of Trade in the country. I chair Indonesian delegation to WTO in Seattle. There are big demonstrations in that. And I go to the demonstrant, young lady, very big demonstration. I spoke to them, why you make it this big demonstration in Seattle? And they asked me, where you come from? Indonesia. What price of one shirt in Indonesia to export to US? I know the price. I say 15 US dollar. You know what price of shirt in US? Your shirt? 90. You say, where is 75? Go. It's happened not in Indonesia, it happened in Vietnam, in India, maybe in many countries. And that's a chance. It's meaning that like extreme this, we call it free market and so on, not making very big advantage to even to people of Indonesia and the people of US itself. 15 Indonesia and 90 in US. It means where is the rest of the in between the prices? This is one thing that extremes making the instability of economy in the world too. If we make in that moderation, both political, social, and economy should make in stability and advantage for people. And then both political and economy and social, how the silent majority of the people can make advantage. Then democracy not only making free, but how the roles of the government, of social. I think this era, many changes, especially after the crisis of 2 years ago and now on, about the thought about that. We believe that here, how to wake up the silent majority of moderation itself. And in democracy way, to making advantage of this situation technology-wise. We hope that this conference has wake-up call everywhere, working together to advantage and prosperity of the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Clearly, you have the experience of your country for a big place for Muslims in Britain to be able to live together with the other communities, and you have provided the leadership and the commitment to do this. I congratulate you on that. So you have, ladies and gentlemen, two examples of leadership, and they are successful. The thing to us is, the point to make is, it is all about governance. If you make a mistake on governance, whether you're a government or you're a foundation leader, if the governance is not right, then it leads to intemperate, immoderate, non-moderate activities. Of course, in the case of the country, it is also dependent on the external environment. As in the case of Indonesia, it is assumed and presumed that the external environment of Indonesia, provided by Malaysia, Singapore, and all of Southeast Asia, will be propitious to the development of democracy and moderation in Indonesia. Okay, you've got 10 minutes. Any comments on this, please? Yes, immediately. The lady with the long hands.
My name is Duke Veldhuis. Thank you very much for that, for those speeches. One thing I've observed, and one thing I would ask for your comment on over the last few days now, is that there's a lot of dialogue, and there's also some preaching. Now, that works only to a certain extent. On a global level, from a personal perspective, I would say a religion is a personal opinion, and no matter what religion you have, there seems to be a little bit of defensiveness that is going on. I mean, I don't see why Muslims need to defend their religion or preach what their religion says. You can selectively go to any holy book, find good things, and find slaughter. And let's not sort of just keep talking in a flowery language and ignore that. Is it not more constructive, does the panel not think, to be a bit more realistic about the simple fact that not all religions will ever agree on that preaching is perhaps not the way forward? And what I would ask for, what actions would you undertake? You know, if I'm treated with respect, I will show you the same courtesy. I do not care what is your creed, who you are, what color you are. And I think actually that the majority of the world's people feel the same. And this debate seems incredibly polarized towards Muslim versus the West. I think that's an exaggeration. I don't think the people of the world are that narrow-minded. And I would like a little bit of your commentary on that issue.
Would you like to?
Okay. Thank you. I agree that religions should be, all religion is same. If you are Muslim, you say Assalamu alaikum. You say salam for all you, peace for all of you. And the same as all Christians say shalom. But why? With these two similarities, there are conflict. I tell you my experiences in Indonesia after reform, that two area have conflict within 2 years and 5,000 have died. Because the conflict, not because the religions, conflict because extremists in politics and economy. Before democracy, Indonesia politics is run with harmony, with Suharto. After that, liberal democracy we implemented, and the winner take all. One province is nearly the same is Lebanon, that 50-50. And because the winner take all, democratic change, Muslim majority there, and because the winner take all, and the politics is only one to religions, and the others angry. Why we are marginalized in politics? Not so easy to make a tough movement with politics. But if you say religion, and all go, because as I stated, the leaders of religions, I told them, you sell the heaven very cheap. If you say you kill the others and you go into the heaven, and you to be killed and go to heaven too. That's why it never ended. If the conflict on the base of religions is not so easy to end it, because all going to heaven, kill or to be killed. This jihad or crusade is same. You know the history about crusade, history about jihad is the same. We sell heaven too cheap to the others, because you're using that. If you kill or to be killed, heaven. This is one thing that our mistake. That's why, still I agree, need dialogue to don't making this reason, jihad and crusade each others, and you kill or to be killed, go to crusade. It's the suicide. Why is it the suicide? Suicide never thinking about money, material. They think about heaven. Because if you think about money, material, you don't see suicide. That's why two things that preach about religions in moderate, not extreme. That's why if you are extreme with non-violence, no problem. Whatever you say in parliament, okay, say that. Like Mahathir maybe last night, he's extreme, not. But we needed extreme without violence. This may be a problem for us. And the religion or leader of religion can make it if we are a good preaching about it.
Can you hear me? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I mean, first of all, I think there's a notion that we have to make a distinction between violence and religion, by per se. Those individuals that use religion to say that we condone violence, as the respectful Vice President would say, it's a minority. It's a handful of people. The majority of Muslims, 98 point something, more than that, are all peace-loving people. True? As the Prime Minister said, if terrorism was something part of Islam, then the most Muslims live in Southeast Asia. We would have had major problems, but we don't, alhamdulillah. So to have this notion to say that religion or religious leaders are behind this, it's a fallacy. I live in the UK. In the UK, we don't have these imams that go on and say, go do jihad and kill. We don't have suicide bombing. In fact, all the ulama have given fatwa against it. Even the earliest scholar to ever write a fatwa against it was over 20 years ago, Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz, the former Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia. So to have this notion that it's a religious issue on religion calls, it's not truthful at all. And to say, for example, that we should keep religion to yourself, in this society now, we have a poll by Gallup, the leading think tank in the US. They did this a research paper, and the research paper showed that majority of people believe that their religion will affect their behavior in society. The way they behave as Muslims or Christians will reflect upon the way they have a coordination or a communication with other people. So religion does have a part to play in people's life. Ethics we're talking about. We're not talking about violence here. All religions are against violence. Christianity, the crusade, as you mentioned, these were fanatical people, like Osama bin Laden is fanatical. Finish. The majority of Christians do not call for violence. We cannot be unjust people. We must stand for adl, justness. And if that means standing with Muslims, yes. This is what the maqasid al-sharia is about. Al-maqasid al-sharia is about being just to other people. By giving other people human rights. Muslims, Jews and Christians live very peacefully. The problem in Palestine has, and I conclude with this, it's not to do with Islam, it's a political reason, it's a political issue. It has nothing to do with Islam and Christianity. Why? Because Jews, Muslims and Christians live for centuries peacefully there. So we must make this distinction between people saying, oh, religion is doing this, and it's the fault of religious people. It is not. If you remove religion, as Tony Blair, and forgive me, I'll finish off with this, as Tony Blair said in a debate in Canada, he said, is religion, the topic of the debate was religion a positive force of goodness in the world? And he said it was. He said if you removed religion from the world today, he said you would see some of the most, fanatical things that are happening. And this century has been the most bloodiest century from all centuries. And it has not been fought based upon religion. It's been fought upon other issues and other ideologies. So religion is a positive force. And that's whether Islam, Christianity or Judaism. They're all positive. And we should use that positiveness in proclaiming peace and moderation.
Thank you. Next question. Please. Yes, I see the gentleman there.
Thank you very much. I'm Bishop Ephraim Tendero from the Philippines. I'm so glad that Malaysia has taken the initiative of organizing the global movement of moderates and are really championing this. And I just want to ask, because in terms of application to our own context, one of the issues that has come up in Malaysia is the use of Allah by other religions. And though the court has already decided to allow other religions, other than the Muslims, to use Allah in their publications, my question is, why is it that the government is appealing the case, though the court has already decided on the issue? If we are really pushing for moderation, harmony. Another question I have is, it seems to be that the policies that are being given in the government protect more the majority of the population rather than accommodating the minority in the land. And maybe just a personal comment here, observation, that this is a global movement of moderates, but there's a preponderance of perspective from the Islamic perspective, and lesser representation from Christian and other religious in terms of presenters in the different sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no member of the government here that can answer this. But as far as the conference arrangements are concerned, a lot of people are invited. Perhaps you are not happy, not totally satisfied with the representation here. And as we are all democratic, I have to agree that you have a right to express that, though I don't necessarily agree with you. As far as the questions that are posed to the government of Malaysia, I am not obliged to answer it, but I can tell you that as a Malaysian, obviously we have to take many steps. And if you ever would care to look at the details of the provisions of the Malaysian Constitution, you would see it is a very wise, yet very controversial, very sensitive constitution. You do not make the changes in 1 or 2 days. The law has taken a position on this, and therefore the law has to be respected. But the application on the ground will take a bit of time. And believe you me, there are people with very good intentions in Malaysia to want to do this. Thank you. Next question. Please. I'm seeing you. Right there, the gentleman in the...
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Momodu Juf. I'm from the Gambia, West Africa. I agree that we must thank Malaysia for taking the initiative, this bold initiative. And we, being the first time, we must allow room. I'm just appealing to participants to allow it that this is the first time. And as we go along the line, we would narrow down to be more focused. I agree with our sister from UK that we need to keep more on track towards our goal, which, if I understand the team well, our concern is how do we stop extremists. The extremists are unhappy. Why? That is a question. Not anymore coming by way of defending Islam, but we are saying we have in our midst extremists who are going about doing all the havoc. And to stop this, we have to be more focused. They are extremists, they are unhappy. Why? They are not treated fairly by who? Is it by the West? Who do they kill? In most cases, they kill